We are live. What's going on, guys? Welcome in. It is time for the Game Day Huddle. Myself, Jimmy and Jay. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Good Monday morning here.
Mondays are always a good morning.
They are, man. We had a lot of fun going on this weekend. We had the Front Row Card Show. We were at the card show this weekend on Saturday. Place was busy. And they announced that they're going to go to 2 dates because of it. They're going to do a 2-day event coming up, so we'll have information for you guys on that. But that was fun. Overall, just kind of a crazy week for us. We had 10,000 followers on Whatnot. Man, you got crazy giving stuff away.
We got
I know, but this
we're
guy,
a family. We gave it all away.
Let's
together.
be fair, though. We did, but hear me out. The Godfather was running around kind of crazy there.
Yeah, and especially when we hit the champagne up and
you did.
Things started getting a little crazy. I can't wait to see what we do for $20K. We'll see what happens. I told Dave on stream I might just sell his car. Give his car away.
But before we do that, we're wrapping it.
Yeah, we'll do something. Yeah. It'll be fun. We're already up to 12K. So over the weekend, just in 2 days, we got another 2,000 followers. So we're doing big things on Whatnot. We're taking over. We're not here to take part.
So 20 should be what? Week and a half?
Right? Yeah.
Probably in about 3 days.
You're probably about 8 solid days out.
Yeah, I hope you're planning the next party because it's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think if we do that, maybe we should do something like crazy, open it up to an in-store thing, and that would be kind of fun. Like,
do a 12K party or a 20K party.
Where maybe we open it up, like the back half, we do a party after shop hours. That's like an actual party, invite people to come down, and maybe we do. I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Figure out something.
We got some other things in the works. Of course, we have the Breaks group. Real quick, just for piece of business for the Facebook Breaks group. We're opening it up to buy, sell, trade, and guys, you have a chance to win $500 in break credits. So make sure you go find the post in the Breaks group. If you're not in the Breaks group, it is on our Facebook page. Look up Game Day Sports Cards. You'll find it there. Make sure you get in. Buy, sell, trade. Guys, just to kind of clarify a few things on that, we are going to vet who can sell. It's important to us to make sure that the person that's selling is going to uphold some good quality standards and is going to deliver what they say, disclose damage to anything, stuff like that. So we will be doing that. There will be approval on post, just to kind of get that out of the way and let you guys know. And you guys will be able to start reaching out to us here soon. We'll have the rules up. It's going to take a few days for us to get everything together, but that is going to be happening. I'm excited about it. How do you feel about it, Jimmy?
No, I'm excited too. Get some movement back in the Facebook group. It's been a little stagnant for about 2 to 3 months now. We're transitioning over to Whatnot, transitioning over to the Drip app. So we had some things in the work we wanted to make sure we had ironed out, and everybody was in place. Now that we have all that worked out and it happened pretty fast, we'll get back going on the Facebook because that's where we all started. We all started there, so it's the OG group. We'll get the breaks back posted up, get them back going. I know a lot of guys have reached out to both Steve, myself, and others asking about, are we shutting it down, closing it up? No, we're opening it up, allowing everybody to jump in there, sell some cards if they want, jump into some razzes, jump into some lines, just so they can get it.
I'd like to say we're just getting started. And
we are.
I'm looking forward to it because it gives us an opportunity to add some different things in there, especially the Razz aspect. Because the Razz is something that can be done fun, fast, quick. And then also at the same time, guys, we will be posting more breaks. And one of the things that we are planning on doing is we're going to run some smaller breaks in between the release stuff. So we're going to start getting some smaller breaks in there as well as some mixers up for you guys. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try to get a couple of different breaks posted for you guys, and we will do that. Speaking of getting things started, though, this guy right here finally got to get things started.
Rutschman into right field, down the line, a fair ball. Adleley will turn first, head for second. He's going to turn second, go for third. Rutschman into third base, standing. An extra base hit, his first hit in the main.
Now, I hope that doesn't set an unrealistic expectation for fans. He's not going to be wheeling out triples a lot. He's going to hit a lot of doubles. He's going to hit a lot of home runs. But Adleley Rutschman made his major league debut Saturday night on full display. And they did lose in a losing effort, but he did hit that triple as his first.
Wait, the Orioles lost? Oh,
lose a
go
lot more
figure.
games,
They
too.
lost.
Did they really score that at triple, or was it a double
It
and the
was
guy
scored
couldn't
a
pick up the
triple.
ball, so it
It
was
was
a triple?
scored a triple.
Okay.
The guy looked like one of the little league
leaguers.
kids. He's like,
Part of the
he's fumbling.
reason, so
Step on it, pick it up, get it. Like,
from a scoring standpoint, the reason that they are calling that a triple is because the outfielder was handling the ball when he was about to advance towards third.
okay.
So therefore, they're giving him the extra base automatically. It's a weird scoring thing. It is
Yeah.
some. It should have been a double. We all think it would have been a double.
He
but
could hit a lot of triples as a catcher. I mean, catchers hit a lot of
I mean,
triples.
3 triples for a catcher is a lot of triples.
Yeah.
I think Yadier Molina is one of those guys that probably hit the most earlier in his career, and I would think maybe Contreras right now would be the guy that I would expect to.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of Yachty, he had his first career pitching appearance
Yeah.
over the weekend as well.
the only
Yep.
player in Major League history with 2,100 appearances or more behind the plate and a pitching appearance.
It's crazy.
Gave up 4 runs, too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't bring the highlights of him just because we did that with Pujols and it was already a little tough to watch.
Yeah.
But what I think is neat, again, we're talking about the Cardinals. And then, again, it was in a winning effort. A lot of times you see this stuff in a losing effort on a really bad team.
Right.
And you're seeing it on a winning effort. And it tells you the culture in that clubhouse is next man up.
Yep.
And that's scary. That's scary when you think about a team gelling and you got those crafty veterans, and we talked about Pujols, and so it could be interesting. So Adley makes his Major League debut, and I think it's time we can start talking about some of the other guys that either have or will be. So we have the top 10 prospects now have changed in the Major League pipeline. You don't have Bobby Witt at the top of the list anymore. He's there. Julio Rodriguez is not on this list.
Wander Franco.
He's there. Wander Franco, not there. Vidal Brujan, not there. These guys have all not, they're not there. You recently had called up, though. You had Jack Sawinski from the Pirates, so he's not on this list. He was recently called up and is playing with the Pirates now. And then Nolan Gorman and Tristan Casas both made their Major League debuts as well. So those guys are all up. And you've got guys, Calvary's coming for some teams. So let's take and kind of dig into this list. So Adley Rutschman got called up, made his Major League debut on Saturday. Riley Green at 2. We've been talking about this guy for quite some time. Riley Green is an explosive prospect, tons of power, great throwing arm, going to be good defensively, and he's been dealing with an injury. My guess is we see him up this year coming back from that injury just because of the fact that, 1, the Tigers are going to want the splash of getting him on the roster, and 2, he's a lot like Adley Rutschman. He was Major League ready at the beginning of the season and probably would have made the starting day roster because teams are less concerned about service time now.
Right.
So have you kind of checked out Riley Green at all? You guys?
Yeah, he's a solid prospect, but he does play in Detroit.
Yeah.
What does that do for anybody? It's kind of like playing in Baltimore. You're kind of screwed.
It is. It's tough.
Your card market's tough. Like for us as investors in cards and stuff, we need the guys playing for the Red Sox, for the Yankees, for the Cubs, for the Dodgers. Those are the prospects we want to be huge because those cards sell for the most.
Now, Torkelson is getting some love out of Detroit. So the only argument that I would have is that there's a chance that if there's a 1-2 punch there now, and you kind of got the changing of the guard there.
You got 2 guys going instead of just 1.
Right, and that might be the thing. And again, who knows? Grayson Rodriguez, right-handed pitcher. We don't need to talk much about him. He will see Major League time this year. I think he touched it last year, but I think he'll see Major League time this year. Gabriel Moreno is going to be the next guy up, in my opinion. That is for the Blue Jays. He's a catcher, power rating catcher. He reminds me a lot of Yachty's brothers. He looks the part of the other Molinas, the Benjis, and can hit, surprise you. They actually can run a little bit. They're big guys.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, but he's got a big personality. And I know that he played along in that prospect list for a while, and then you had a couple of drafts where you had some really flashy guys, and he kind of fell down the list. He's back up there at number 4. And then your boy, Anthony Volpe.
Won't see any time this year.
No, he won't.
We're set. The Yankees are set. We're destroying, but we did just lose 2 to the White Sox yesterday in a doubleheader. But we are set. We're taking over the world. You've heard it here first.
Are you ready to guarantee it?
There
Lock
it
up.
is. There it is.
Lock it up.
Not
There
locking it up.
Now the trouble begins.
But it's going to happen. It's easy does it.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. That's as good as a guarantee as you can get.
Volpe has done it all across the board, and the knock that he had was defensively. And this year, corrections are being made. He looks a lot better. It looks like he really spent some time in the offseason working on it. Volpe is quickly becoming an all-around prospect. Real quick for the Yankees. The Yankees have a couple other prospects. They're a year or two out, but they're really starting to make waves. Trey Sweeney and Oswaldo Cabrera. Oswaldo Cabrera was included in this product as his first in this Bowman release, which is kind of surprising because he could have been in other product and they just didn't put him in there. I don't know if it was a contractual issue or whatever it was. Nevertheless, he's in this product and he might actually be Major League ready before Sweeney, but I don't think you'll ever see the pinstripes. I think he's a guy that probably is going to be, when you need pitching help, which, what did we learn from this series? We need some bullpen help. We definitely saw that. You're even seeing guys that you've relied on for quite some years are not being quite as reliable. That might be the one knock on the Yankees is that they could use some bullpen depth, and I think to start the season, everybody thought it was starting pitching. So,
well, our best all-around reliever, Chad Green, just went out. He's on the DL now too. So, we definitely need a little bit of help in the pitching aspect, especially those middle relievers, and we can go get a new closer. I'd be happy with that.
Well, and you've got a couple of teams that have some pieces to move that could be like that. And it'll depend on who's injured getting closer to the trade deadline. But that's a name I could see moved. If he gets moved, he might see Major League time this year. I doubt it, but he might, but he's a really good prospect. C.J. Abrams came up with the Padres, played a little bit, went back down to refine some hitting. He was struggling a little bit at the Major League level. That has turned around. I think he's probably going to be recalled here very soon. The word is that the injury with Tatis is lingering a little bit longer than they expected. And Ha-Seong Kim isn't necessarily flashy enough for them to really think that he should be the everyday shortstop wall.
Yeah, but Tatis isn't a shortstop. Tatis needs to stay in the outfield. He's a lot less of a liability in the outfield than he is at short. At short, Tatis.
It's going to be tough when that comes back. I don't think changes happen this year, but I do think over the next year or two, you're going to see that possibility. I think the move they're going to probably make is to keep him happy. They may leave him at shortstop, put Abrams at second, and then move Cronenworth into the outfield. I think that's probably the move. And then the question becomes who becomes disposable. I want it to be Hosmer. I think it becomes Will Myers, which is unfortunate. But you got to make that move. The question becomes Cronenworth is a left-handed bat. Myers is a right-handed bat. Myers costs a little bit more. Cronenworth is not getting moved.
I always pull for the guys that don't use batting gloves. So Will Myers, no batting gloves. He's my guy.
I wanted Hosmer moved so Will Myers could go play first. But nevertheless, that's not going to happen at this point.
Yeah,
like you hate him.
He's
You've
hitting
been down
again,
on him the whole year.
No,
the guy's just batting 400 and like 4 bombs, like.
And he's like, get this guy out of here.
The whole time.
You know what, though? I've been bashing him, and I want to tell you something. Someone started really slow, which was when Paul Goldschmidt started really slow. And right now, he might be taking votes away from Arenado for MVP. Like, seriously. Goldschmidt's killing it. Like, that's the type of first baseman that I would love to see. We'll never have that guy. But, Hosmer's a nice player. I don't want to knock him. He seems like a good guy.
Too late.
But I'm knocking it from a standpoint of if I had to make a move, this is what I wanted to have happen. So, Francisco Alvarez, you had an interesting take on this guy.
Yeah, so Alvarez, Bowman Chrome 2 years ago, he was the number 1 chase card. Everybody was going after his card. That's back when he was with the Mets, I think, right? He's with the Cleveland. Indians, now Guardians. Then he went off to San Diego, and then now he's on the Mets.
Yeah.
It's like this kid, man, he was the touted number 1. He was supposed to be the best catching prospect in the last 5 to 10 years or something like that, and he just hasn't put it together.
Well, it's not necessarily he didn't put it together. He was really young, and he had 2 guys that just over 2 years overtook all the catcher talk, and even we can go up the list and look at Moreno in front of him there, right? Moreno got all the talk. You have Henry Davis being talked about, which, by the way, Henry Davis fractured his wrist recently. He's out. Was hitting 330 something. Probably was going to move up to AA this year, which was blow you away, which means we thought he was going to be fast-tracked to the Major League. I think there's a good chance Henry Davis is playing in the Major Leagues next year, which surprising, I think, to a lot of people, being the kid comes that young out and makes that move. But Alvarez just kind of kept getting pushed behind because of names. Adley Rushman. Then you had Contreras started making waves, right? And then he got called up to the bigs. And then you've got more and more guys, coming up the pipeline here that are doing that. And so it kind of pushed him back. And I think now he's kind of like back in the forefront. What this does is this is an interesting thing because he's not really touted in the hobby like he was. And in fact, guys went out and dumped and almost like lost faith. And I just tell you, sometimes we get into prospecting, we lose faith quickly on some of these young guys. Mets didn't lose, and he may see Major League time this year.
Like almost too soon, though. You know what I mean? Like with these prospects, like sometimes they just take a little bit longer.
I do. Marco Luciano, we talked about him just a couple of weeks ago. Luciano's now in the top 10 on the list. We kind of thought he should be in the top 10 on the list, and he's a guy that I don't know he sees time with the Giants because the Giants are right now they're pretty happy with where they're at. They got good chemistry and whatnot. But that's probably a next year or a year out thing. And also you got Brandon Crawford in the way there at shortstop. So probably, I don't know where Crawford's at with his contract, but I would bet this is the end of it, whatever it is. Navole Marte, though, for the Mariners. This is a guy that wasn't on a lot of people's radars. Now he's up on the list. And I think he's probably behind Moreno, the next guy to probably see Major League time. He's close.
He's definitely close. He's put in his time. He's worked his way up. He started at single A ball. He's worked his way all the way up through. He's now in AAA. He's ready to see the field. He's an everyday shortstop. He will be their guy probably for the next 7 to 10 years. He's that type of player.
And with the back end of that Mariners lineup just not getting it done, and I hate to knock Julio Rodriguez here, but even Julio's not hitting. You got a bunch of guys outside of Ty France. There's not much happening there, and they're still winning some ball games despite it. Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with Ty France. If you want to talk about who's most valuable, I'd say he's probably the most valuable player individually to any one team as of right now because of what he's doing. But I think he sees some time. I think he makes a splash, and I think he's going to surprise the hobby. Like, he's going to come up. He's not going to get all the fanfare that some of the other prospects got. And then all of a sudden he's going to be like, kind of like, I felt like Wander Franco kind of surprised people. Like, Wander came up, he had some fanfare to him, but they're like, oh, well, let's see what he does. And then last year he just kind of took off. It could almost be the exact same type thing with Marte, where by the end of the year he may be a household name for people that have no idea who this kid is, and take a look at him. And then, surprisingly to me, because I said it earlier and Jimmy kind of agreed with this sentiment, there's no way that Marcelo Mayer sees the field in the next 2 years.
He's a long way away. However, coming into this draft this last year, because he was touted as the best prospect in the draft. However, the two teams drafting before the Red Sox at 1 and 2 don't like to spend money, one of them being your team. They would like to give up the best prospects probably in the next 3 to 4 years, Marcelo Mayer. And they're like, we don't want him. We don't want to spend the money. Let's just give him to the Red Sox. They spend money.
Yeah.
I know that Pittsburgh had a conversation with him, and he said he would not sign with Pittsburgh.
Correct.
Said he would not sign. He was not going to go to Pittsburgh. He pulled the Eli Manning.
Wouldn't you?
He said he wasn't going to go. I understand it, but I come from the old adage of. But the kid could have gone to any school he wanted to, not had to put in an audition at all. It would have been the starting shortstop at any college in the nation. So
as a freshman, the kid's a stud.
Yeah,
he is a high on the list, so I don't know why he's a top 10 prospect right now because he's not going to see. So he'll be on this list. Next year when we're doing this podcast, we'll be like, hey, there he is again.
I think
now he's number 3.
Yeah, I think the intentions from MLB here is probably to put up that this is the list, that's the guy that you're going to be looking for quite some time on this list.
I think what they're trying to do is they're like, where do you get the eyes? You get the eyes from the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox. Yeah. Guess who's on this list? All of those teams.
Exactly.
Yep.
They have one of their prospects on that list.
Yeah, at least one.
Just to show you, hey, look at us.
Yep.
Don't worry, fans. You got something else coming in the wind.
Yeah. And Lou Rod for the Dodgers is that guy that is just on the outside of this top 10. Lou Rod's another one of those guys that he probably is going to see Major League time end of this year or next year. At least, if anything, just a call-up. Maybe if it's just a September call-up to let him sit in the clubhouse, and be around, how to be a Major Leaguer. He's a guy that I think will be coming up. The Dodgers do have a couple of position players. They've got some arms that might make their ways up. We'll see. But we know. And then, of course, another guy that's on this list, we talked about him just recently for the A's. But the catcher, why can't I think?
Sudstrom?
No. That AAA right now. We just talked about him. I can't even. Why am I drawing a blank?
We just talked about him, but
I just talked about him.
We talked about him getting traded.
We got him from the Shoemake. Not Shoemake. Anyways, they got him in the trade with
the Matt Olson
and all that.
The Matt Olson
so
with Atlanta.
he's on his way up.
Shea Langeliers.
Yeah, there you go, Langeliers. Langeliers will definitely be up on the Major League roster this year. In fact, I think he'll be up before the All-Star break. I think you'll see him. And the A's are just going to try to spark something.
One thing I have to mention, though, is thank God for social media now. How awesome are these call-up videos, these videos where they're, with their parents, these draft day videos.
Yeah.
This stuff, you could go scroll through. If you're having a bad day and you want to, something to, boost your spirit up a little bit, jump on MLB on your phone and just look up the call-up videos.
Yeah.
You see these kids, they look like babies.
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old, and I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, man, that kid looks...
Once you take the helmet off of them and you, just see them in street clothes, you're like, wait. I would have walked past him.
He's a baby. He's a kid. And they get this call-up, and they're excited. They call their parents, and their parents are going crazy. We all have kids. It's something that you, dream of.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Well,
Thank you for
the
that.
Adley video was just posted on MLB, which is really fun. I actually just watched the Bobby Witt getting the actual, you're coming to the big leagues and we're not sending you down. He came to the meeting thinking that they were going to option him
back down
for service time. And the Royals decided not to service time him and actually get his service time started at the beginning of the season. And he was sitting there. It was kind of neat.
The Nolan Gorman one with his buddy, lifelong friends. They played Little League together.
Get
called up together on the same team.
How
freaking awesome. That stuff that's
how does that even happen?
And they got to find out together, which was really cool.
It's amazing. That stuff's so cool to watch.
It is, and that makes baseball beautiful. What doesn't make baseball beautiful, though, is some of the things that happened this weekend. One of the things that you dislike a lot is when you have anything that ever kind of darkens the sport up. Where someone thinks that there's a political stance or there's religion or, when you start to bring that into the sport. And we had the color issue brought up this weekend with your Yankees, Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson. And I call him Tim Field of Dreams Anderson, right? My question to you guys is that Josh Donaldson's comments, and kind of to lay it out for anybody who doesn't know what happened, there was a tweet put out, it was a couple of years ago by Tim Anderson, right around Jackie Robinson Day, who said, I'm the modern day Jackie, blah, 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 blah. Josh Donaldson commented back and said, oh, you think you're the Jackie at that time. And then from there, apparently over the last couple of years, there's been a couple of barbs thrown out there. The two of them have kind of had a little bit of back and forth. And then you come Friday night, Josh Donaldson, I think he grounded out or something, and as he's going by, Anderson said something to him, he said something, and everybody took offense, cleared the benches, and come to find out, Josh Donaldson admittedly called him Jackie. That's, nice job, Jackie, or something to that extent.
Right.
Is he out of line here, guys?
I think you're getting way too sensitive. And I get it. It's a sensitive subject for a lot of people, and us being, white guys, we really can't comment on what it is because it is. It's very sensitive, and people, we don't know what people go through in their everyday lives. We don't know how people are treated. However, it's sports. If I know I can say something to you and get in your head, 100% of the time I'm going to say it.
Right.
And these guys are at the top of the top level. You think when Michael Jordan and these guys were playing basketball against you know what they said about their other...
Have you heard some of the Lambier tape? Oh my gosh.
They go at their wives, their mom, their daughter, whatever they can do. Their dog, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And if they know they're getting in your head, they're going to do it. And yes, I think it's a little petty. I think, Tim needs to lighten up a little bit. Donaldson, he's on his 5th team in 5 years. Relax, buddy. You're hitting 7th in the lineup. You need to know your role. Tim Anderson needs to lighten up a little bit. He did make the comment. They did have a back and forth. It is what it is. Everybody just needs to move on.
Where are you at with it, Jay?
I kind of agree. I think that, like, if you're going to go out there and put it out there, like calling yourself the modern-day Jackie Robinson and someone calls you Jackie, you're going to have to take that. Like, you're the one that kind of initiated that. So, like, obviously we weren't on the field. The players weren't mic'd up, so it was more said. We don't know. So, like, I don't like to comment further on, like, what happened because no one knows what really happened. Obviously, there was bad blood between these guys. You saw, like, the tape come out from, 2 years ago, I think, or a year ago, where Tim Anderson was sliding back into third, and Donaldson went for, like, the hard tag and pushed him. They called him safe because the umpire basically said, you pushed him off the bag.
Right.
Got in each other's faces. Now this is going on, so clearly there's some kind of bad blood or some kind of problem with the two of these guys here. So, yeah, he's trying to get under his skin. He got under his skin. But, like, the stuff that he's saying... Is it like a flat out racist comment? I don't think so because he kind of called himself the Jackie Robinson, the modern day Jackie Robinson. So like, I don't know. I don't put too much thought into that type of stuff.
Well, I brought it up this weekend and someone sent me a clip and I wanted to mention this to you guys because I thought it was really interesting. So, the clip that was sent to me was basically an interview being done with Denzel Washington, and it was for a movie that he was doing, and they had asked in this movie, they asked him the question. Did you consider hiring a white director for the movie? And I don't remember what movie it was. That's out of context. It doesn't matter. It was a primarily based African-American movie, right? It's kind of how it was been. And Denzel, he said, no, I never considered it. And he said, is that because you think a white guy couldn't direct this movie? Denzel said, let me stop you. He said, this isn't a race thing. That's what our media wants to make this as a race thing.
Right.
He says it's a culture thing. He said none of these directors that are white have ever had a hot pick in their hair at 6:30 in the morning and had that culture. And I wanted someone who had the culture. And then I got to thinking about it, and when it was sent to me in the context that it was, I was like, you know what? There's a culture of Jackie Robinson Day where I can recall before they made everybody wear number 42. Do you remember there was arguments when there was a couple of white guys that wanted to wear number 42 when they let one player wear 42?
Yeah.
Right? And the arguments were, you haven't gone through what I went through, you didn't go. And then everybody was wearing 42 to just kind of eliminate it. It did bring up the topic and made me think, you know what, you're right, there's a definite difference between the culture aspect of this and this being a race thing. It's a complete culture thing, and it's one of those unsaid rules in baseball. You just don't go and do that. Yeah, and I think that's where it crosses the line, in my opinion. I do think Donaldson's wrong in this standpoint. I think his apology was a little poor. I think he should have just apologized and been on his way instead of trying to justify the reasoning. And granted, I'm the guy that justifies his reasoning, so I'm pot calling the kettle black. But that was a really interesting take for me, and I thought that was unique because I don't think before I saw that video, I thought that way.
Yeah, and I get that. I think we all kind of understand where we're at this day and age and what's going on. Look at what just happened in Buffalo, New York. It's like not one of us sat up here and said, that guy's not a piece of crap scumbag that doesn't deserve the death penalty for what he did.
Yeah.
Like, we all are screaming that's disgusting and
course.
it should never be tolerated. So yeah, it's this day and age, it's going to be tough and a lot of people are going to be sensitive. I just think in sports it's a little bit different. I think maybe on the street, if you said something like that to somebody, okay, now you have a fight on your hands. You're in sports, you got to let some stuff fly off the back.
Well, in baseball we talk smack, right? That's part of the game is hitters and pitchers talking crap to each other. Position players either joking around, or you see the great moments where, like Iglesias got a hit right after his dad died, and you had Freddie Freeman give him a hug. Like that's the opposite side of this, right?
Right. And we're grooming our kids. Jay's daughter, who plays competitive soccer, what are they?
Right.
They're in the dugout chanting, "Pitch too high, too low, walk," and all this. That's what we do.
Right.
And the girls do it to the other girl that's pitching.
Right.
Because they're trying to get it in her head, make her throw another ball, make her throw a bad pitch. Right. That's what we do in sports.
Well, the moment, and you won't like this, but this moment I think made this whole thing lighten up a little bit. And this did. And here's the moment I'm talking about.
I think Anderson to right, well hit. Judge going back, looking up, it's gone! Tim Anderson, a 3-run shot, his 5th of the year. And the White Sox here in the 8th inning now lead it 5-0.
Another slider. This one just hung. Look at the spinner. Stays up. TA did not miss it.
I think one thing we all can agree on.
Great night for Anderson. He's got 3 hits, 2 singles, and the home run.
The one thing I think we all can agree on is Tim Anderson's a damn good ball player.
He is.
That guy can play, flat out play.
And to be
He's
able
good.
to stand up in the moment, this is what I think, is that he got booed heavily every at bat in a nationally televised game. They were winning, I think it was like 2-0 at the time, right? Severino's throwing a pretty good game. Hits a 97-mile-an-hour fastball that's a pretty good pitch.
Yeah.
And hits it out and attributes the fact there. But gets in the moment, but then gets back with the crowd. That should show you the severity of the moment. If he was so worked up, he'd have been beating his chest and he'd have been doing all that. He did something playful that wasn't over the top outlandish that definitely got in the New York media today. Right. Tim Anderson is, enemy number one.
It's the playful trash
right?
talking. It's the playful trash talking.
That's where it was at.
And he's batting. He's actually leading American League in batting average right now. Tim Anderson is. He's second in the Major League Baseball in batting average.
He's a stud. Everybody knows he's a stud. Is he the modern day Jackie Robinson? I wouldn't go that far. You're going after one of the greats of all time.
Right. I mean, he did hit a walk-off at Field of Dreams.
That's pretty cool.
And, I mean, he does have that on his notch. I mean, the guy's got a good story. I think he's undercollected in the hobby, and we'll do a whole nother...
undervalued, for sure.
Yeah, we'll do a whole nother thing on that because I want to do that at some point. Who's undervalued in the hobby and why. But, the fact that he was able to do that, the fact that that was kind of fun. I don't want to say he's the underdog, but he's definitely not on everyone's radar like he was, especially with the waves the White Sox are making. Everybody talks about Lubob. Everybody talks about Abreu. Yep. People talk about Yasmani Grandal. They talk about all these guys. He's not the guy on the list that everybody's talking about, but he's the guy that's definitely the forefront leadership in that club.
Yeah.
They're going off him. They're moving off him, and he showed it this weekend. Showcased it in the Bronx. Good player, and I'm glad to see that the story kind of wrapped itself up because it wasn't leading shows today.
Right.
And it easily could have.
Yeah. And
didn't lead ours.
No.
Right?
And absolutely, he shut everybody up. He shut Donaldson up. He shut everybody up with that home run. I think it's the last we hear of it, unless, Donaldson. Yeah. Well, until Donaldson says something stupid because, that's the type of guy he is. He just likes to run his mouth. But we'll see what happens.
Well, and shutting people up, and I want to say that maybe this is pointed at me. These guys... Steph Curry, we decide not to make him the top superstar left in the playoffs, and he decides to go out and show you what a superstar should do.
Who decided that?
I don't remember. Well, we as a group did not say he was the number one.
Out of the four people left, he was number 4.
We did not
if we were drafting a team right now.
And here's the thing, is that what Steph did last night and on Friday was he got other people involved. He got guys out there. And let's be fair, Andrew Wiggins was an all-star starter this year, but he was an all-star starter because of some K-pop singer decided that he would make a push to get votes for him on Twitter, which is how they voted for it. And Andrew Wiggins went out and had himself a night, and he did this.
That was nasty. Andrew Wiggins, he understood the assignment. And on Sunday morning, he woke up and chose violence. Initially ruled an offensive foul.
Watching the game live,
that would be overturned.
My favorite.
And now you have yourself a Kodak moment. Put him on a poster.
Sports guy.
Dallas still down.
So watching this live was like, how do you call that a foul? Because Luka acted like he got hit in the face. Total posterized. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so they went back and reviewed it, and the points stood.
Oh, yeah.
So it definitely counted. So that's a definite poster. Luka got posterized big time there. And I hate to knock Luka because the guy scored 40 points again and been on a tear. So the guy, it wasn't Steph that had the most points last night. It wasn't Steph that made the biggest splash last night. But there's 100% no doubt in my mind that Steph made everybody on the court better last night. Clay had a nice moment that everybody did. I will tell you this, though. that Dallas team was literally one pass away from making that a 2-point game. They were one pass away from doing it, and they kind of let the wheels get out from underneath them. That game, being a 9-point game, was actually contested a lot more than the final score showed.
Yeah.
They did not run away with this. Luka afterwards said, hey, I'm young. I'm 23. I'm learning still. To be as aware as he is, I think is great. He talked about needing to get, involvement and stuff. It was almost verbatim the Jimmy Butler conversation from, 3 nights before of after they got blown out of maybe I need to do a better job of incorporating people. Do not be surprised. They may not win the series, but don't be surprised if they take the next 2. If Dallas comes back and takes the next 2 games, I would not be shocked because Luka seems like someone that when he gets called out, he makes a change. When he does something wrong, he tries to correct it. And I think that maybe he actually took a learning lesson from last night and said, maybe I need to get guys involved a little bit earlier. Because he said his quote was, in the first and second quarter, I was not very good, and I have to be better. And part of that's distribution, right?
Yeah.
So we will see what happens with them, but tip your cap to the Warriors, man. Do they not look nasty complete? And the Heat, they took that beating and then they came back and they did one of their own.
Yeah, I mean, I said it from the get-go. NBA wants Golden State in the finals. I mean, you have the Splash Brothers back. You have Klay Thompson's back off his injury. You have Draymond Green still there. Steph Curry. Like they want Golden State.
The playoff guys.
They want Golden State in the finals. It's gonna happen.
I think you do, and I think if you're the NBA, you want the Celtics there just because it's Boston.
Right.
And Jason Tatum's a nice story, and I think for the hobby, Tatum or Luka both getting there, I think is big. Tatum and Luka getting there would be monstrous.
We didn't mention it last week either, but this is the 37th Eastern Conference Finals for Boston, making it to Eastern Conference Finals. That's half of the Eastern Conference Finals. So they've been in half of the Eastern Conference Finals in
that is
history.
An insane.
Exactly half. Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. Like, I should pop the breaking news up there.
Well,
J up with breaking news. No, that's incredible, and it's great to see. I think it makes the sport fun when you have crazy stats like that because they kind of looked aforementioned, right? Like we didn't talk about them much. But Jimmy Butler playing really well. Tyler Hero playing really well. Something random about the Tyler Hero thing. Do you realize that Tyler Hero has more followers on Instagram than Mike Trout does?
That's crazy.
Does that blow your mind?
It does, yeah.
I think we need to start a campaign for Mike Trout's Instagram. I think for like the next month, I'm just going to put, in anything I do, you have to follow Mike Trout on
Maybe he doesn't post.
Yeah.
And that's why.
It has to.
And
I'm
Hero's
pretty
younger.
sure he's not running around with Jake Paul. I get it.
Right.
He's not. Right.
Definitely not jumping in private yachts and different things in
Right.
Miami.
Hero's out tonight too, by the way.
Yeah, so I saw that he was out, which does affect that team. I think it doesn't affect them as much as it would another team, just because they do have some other depth and they can get a little bigger.
Yeah.
So it might slow the game down tonight. It might be one of those things that maybe an under might be in the books tonight.
Something to look at.
That might be something to look at. Something to look at, though, was these two used to share a sideline, and now they're sharing headlines. You got Saban and Jimbo Fisher had quite the exchange this week, and it got me really thinking. But to first off kind of say it, so Saban came out and basically said, Texas A&M has bought every player on their roster. And I think that's the quote.
Yeah.
Every player?
Coming from Saban.
Yeah.
Every player? Right. So my first question was going to say, what are your guys' thoughts on... Let's not talk about Jimbo yet. Just on Saban's initial conversation as part of this interview that he what's funny is this wasn't supposed to be a big media interview. It was like in a retreat thing that they were doing, like whatever. And here he is making this statement.
Anybody that watches sports would know that that's like, it's a joke. Everyone laughed it off because they're like, come on, bro. Like, look who's saying it. It's like Urban Meyer saying that another coach goes to college bars and hits on college girls. It's like, cool, dude. Yeah, you do the same thing. Like, come on. Like, look where you're at. Look what you're doing. Come on. Like, I laughed at it when I was like, come on, bro.
I did too. I kind of like gave it a little chuckle. I'm like, okay, really? But then you start to think about it. Why would he respond this way? And I think he's been on the top of the game for so long, and now he's looking at all these schools that like USC who just got this this wide receiver that they gave $2 million to come play from Pittsburgh now is going to USC. So we're going to start seeing these things in these big money towns, California, Texas, Florida, New York, are going to start getting these players to come in. Why? Because that's where all the money is, and that's where all the promotional dollars, the marketing budgets, all that's getting flooded into those areas. Guess what? In Alabama, you're not going to get somebody to drop $8 million.
Right.
For college. They love their Alabama football.
Yeah.
They just don't have that type of money like they have down in Texas. And in Texas, we all know those boys are rich.
Yeah.
They know how to spend money, and I think that's
and
what
they're not afraid to throw it around.
Correct.
Right.
Like they like to flaunt it. Well, Jimbo Fisher had his response, and his response, he responded 2 or 3 times. It wasn't just once. Like he literally responded 2 or 3 times. The best part of his response that I liked though was the fact that someone asked, "Did you get a apology from Nick Saban?" He said, "Yeah, he apologized publicly or privately, but that wasn't an apology because he said it publicly." And I like that he said that because I think that really drives some things. My gosh, can we not wait? And by the way, Alabama is almost a 2-touchdown favorite right now when they match up. They play each other this year, so this is definitely going to come back into play. But you touched on it, Jimmy, and I think that's a really good topic for us to discuss. Now with the name, image, likeness actually being a real thing where college players can make money off of their image, and we're already seeing it, where is that taking the sport in your guys' opinion? Where is this going to take us?
Where it's taking us is they have to come up with some better guidelines, some better rules for these guys to follow, because right now it's a wild, wild west. Guess what? There's no rules. There's nothing on the table yet. They're trying to come up with them as fast as they can and say, oh, you can do this, you can't do that. However, it's going to be those big states that I talked about, California, Texas, Florida, New York, those big-time places that have all the money. That's where all the athletes are going to start flocking to, and we're going to start seeing more and more of them moving. We just got it announced just this week that one of the 5-star players that's coming out just got $8 million as an endorsement deal. $8 million for a high school football 5-star player. There's only one player in my mind that can possibly get that. I know nobody said anything yet about who this guy is. In my opinion, it has to be a Manning. It has to be Arch Manning. That's the only kid that if you look at everybody out there who's available, who would possibly get this type of money as an endorsement, it has to be him. And also Arch just came out this week and said he's down to his final 3 teams. You know which teams those are?
Who's that?
We have Texas, Alabama, and Georgia. I'm telling you right now, put it down. That $8 million deal that he just signed, he's going to Texas. Arch Manning's going to be playing in Texas.
I mean, Georgia's interesting too. And the reason I'll say that is because you just saw Spencer Rattler now is a Gamecock. Yeah. Right? So, same area.
Yep.
Right? Same area. They're geographically, they're in the same area. Have the same local eateries, have the same, right? So, that's a play. There is some money in Atlanta. I would knock, the Alabama talk is probably more about just getting it on the radar. Mm-hmm. That's the smoke and mirrors, right? The Alabama talk. But, Texas, Georgia, that's either way, but you're right about Texas. There's a lot of money down there.
When there's smoke and there's fire, and I just think all the money's coming in. They just announced this player getting $8 million. I'm like, who in their right mind would pay a quarterback, a high school quarterback, $8 million? Some oil-driven money in Texas where the guy's sitting there is like, we're going to get this Manning boy. Go get him. How much?
Yep.
Pulls out his billionaire checkbook and writes it down. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Just in my mind, that's where I think he's going.
And it's advertising, so it's a write-off.
Yep.
The way I see the NIL, what I see is I think that it's really good for the sport because it's actually going to distribute the creative balance. Because the one thing that will happen is that although there will be a lot of money in an area, say Texas or even Texas A&M or one of those programs, there will be a lot of money there for them, but it still will allow other teams to take a shot at a player that they would normally not have a chance to take a shot at and be able to go get. It might be the 5th or 6th receiver. It might be the 5th or 6th quarterback. But it might give them a chance to actually grab a bigger player to make a splash than it would.
It'll give them
Where
a
it'll
chance.
hurt it is the bottom end.
Yes, it'll give them a chance, but you're not going to see those small school teams competing anymore. It's literally going to be just the big. And I know we say it now, all the powerhouses make it, but like the smaller schools that you kind of sneak in every once in a while, like the Utahs, the teams that may not have a whole bunch of money to throw at these guys, I think they're going to be the ones that suffer.
Don't be surprised about Utah there. Utah's got money too, bro.
I know, but they don't have like Texas money and you know.
You might be surprised. That's becoming the new tech capital.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that.
You might see. I'd love to circle back on this in 5 years.
Yeah.
And see who's wearing the jersey of the Utah Utes and the BYU Cougars, because there's some money up there that's surprising. So, but again, I think that from that competitive balance across who you always see in the top 25 is there. I think where this hurts programs like Boise State. Yeah. This hurts programs like that.
That's what I'm saying.
They're going to do, but they're also really good at finding the diamond in the rough. So that's the problem is, will the diamond in the rough stay there?
Correct.
Yeah. But you'll never see nobody outside the SEC or any of those top 5 conferences is ever going to win a championship.
Correct.
It's impossible.
It's done.
It's impossible.
If it stays this way, it's done. There's just no way.
It's absolutely impossible.
You go to a small school with these aspirations of maybe making a national championship, forget it. It's done. And that's why people will leave. And
I think that's, we were all in the hopes of them expanding the playoff to 8 teams, and I think they're going to, if they haven't already said that they're going to. And that was going to give the smaller schools like a chance to get in the playoff and make a run.
Like you just mentioned it. You brought the name up. You said Manning. And the first thing that comes to mind to me as I start going through the big 3, right? You got shoe, soda, and insurance, right? Those are the big 3 and when you're a player, right? Well, one of those, and probably insurance is going to be the one, right? Will lock on to Eli, Peyton, Dad, right? And then all of a sudden, you're going to have this arch banding now available for that. And what's going to happen is that sponsor is going to go to the NCAA and say, hey, we want to run this campaign that's going to be around this kid that's being talked about early in the season, and we want to do it, so you're going to have to expand the playoffs because we got to make sure this kid has a chance to get in there or whatever it is, because that's going to be big for the sport. I think that is going to be the next game change, that because you're going to be able to put these players on the screen representing a brand.
Right.
That immediately says you're going to have to expand the playoffs, get it bigger, get more regional eyes on things. What it does for the sport of college football and the NCAA is secretly deep down the NCAA is thrilled because it's going to bring a ton more money into everything. Right now, though, fixing it and balancing it out, like you said, it's a Wild West.
It's an uphill battle.
It absolutely
Good luck
is.
with that.
Well, getting into this, since we're talking about college football and everything, I think it's time we get into Jay's Fantasy Roundup, this portion of the program where Jay talks fantasy and the things that we can do with our fantasy rosters. And I guess we got baseball up there, but we're more talking football today.
Yeah, I have more football stuff. Like, obviously, the baseball stuff we already kind of touched on. Is Adley Rutschman and Nolan Gorman. They're still not 100% owned in leagues. And those are guys that could be league winners down the road. So we won't delve too much into baseball today. We'll keep it with mostly football. There's a couple of rookie running backs I wanted to mention for anyone doing their rookie drafts, which is his rookie draft season, right? May and June, we talked about it. And then we'll talk to a couple of veterans in a minute. Late round steals. Everyone wants that late round, diamond in the rough running back, guys that might be in good situations. And I actually have a draft tonight. Like, I'm literally going from here, when we leave here at 6, I'm going right to the bar to do a rookie draft. The original one that you were in, as a matter of fact. Oh. The Venetian League. That one's tonight, if you want to stop by.
I might stop by and say hi.
That one's going to be at Sporting Life, yeah. So a couple of guys I want to talk about really fast. These are guys you can get like late third round, maybe even early fourth round, going into the fifth round. So these are guys that are like diamonds in the rough. You'll sit them on your taxi squad. Abram Smith, running back from the Saints. They literally have right now as a two-headed combo is Alvin Kamara, and they have Mark Ingram. Everyone knows Mark Ingram's over 30 years old. He does get a lot of carries, No one knows what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. Is he going to get suspended? Is he going to get away scot-free? No one knows, right? So this is a guy to kind of look at. The Saints grabbed him as an undrafted free agent. That's somebody you want to take a look at. You can get him in the 4th round. Kennedy Brooks, running back from Philadelphia Eagles. This is a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. This guy could easily be had in the 5th round of rookie drafts. You know the Eagles like to use a lot of running backs, right? Yeah. And not all of them have been a clean bill of health. They've used guys like Jordan Howard, Josh Adams. They have Miles Sanders, who never can make a healthy season go. Boston Scott. So they have a lot of guys that they use. This is the next guy that I think they're going to use in that rotation. It's Kennedy Brooks, and he can be had in the 5th round. Jerome Ford, running back for Cleveland Browns. Kareem Hunt has his dead cap space where he could be a casualty. He could be a guy that they cut in Cleveland to save $3 million on their cap. Nick Chubb is obviously the guy there. They just went out and re-signed D'Ernest Johnson, which is another sign that they're probably going to let Hunt go at some point. I'm not saying Hunt's not a good player. I'm just saying that where his age is at and the money tied up with Hunt is a reason why they would probably get rid of him. So you have Chubb there. You have D'Ernest Johnson, who's a good backup. Jerome Ford with the next man up right behind D'Ernest Johnson. So that's another guy you want to look at. He could be had easily in the late 3rd, early 4th round. And the last guy is Kyren Williams, running back from the Rams. We all know the Rams situation. They do like to throw the ball. Running back stable is not what I would call the cleanest bill of health.
Yeah, they're never healthy.
Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, not much else. So grab a guy like this in your late 4th round and just stash him on your taxi squad and see what happens with Cam Akers. They just let go of Sony Michel. They let him walk to Miami, so he's no longer there. So this guy's the 3rd guy in line, in my opinion. 2 veterans to keep an eye on. Number 1, Nick Foles just signed today with Indianapolis Colts. He signed a 2-year deal. Now he's reunited with Frank Reich, where he had all of his success. That's a guy to look at in Superflex leagues, especially if you don't feel like Matt Ryan can make it a full year. He's a guy you can go out and grab cheap. He might even be on waiver wire. You can go out there and grab this guy after your rookie draft. But I would just stash him on my bench if you have the space. And the last guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. It seems to be that even though they haven't come out and announced, like, hey, Trey Lance is our guy, it seems to me like Trey Lance is going to be the guy. And now they're leaning more towards finding a better situation for Jimmy Garoppolo instead of just like, hey, anybody want him? Come get him. Now they're trying to look for a decent situation for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere like a Carolina Panthers and kind of takes over for Sam Darnold while Matt Corral is trying to learn the ropes. So he is a very, very sneaky pickup in Superflex leagues. He's definitely owned because he's never been cut by the Niners, so if someone has him in their league, go out and try to trade him, get him cheap before he goes somewhere else. But Garoppolo, I think, is a very sneaky pickup right now.
Well, and bringing that up, let's get into the plus or minus because it's actually a really good topic to bring up, and that is you brought up Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, when we start looking at these opportunities and things, here's the one guy out of the quarterback class for the last 2 years that the talk kind of has stumbled on. Mm-hmm. The people are like, yeah, he's not. Jordan Love became this guy, right? Where like we stopped talking about him because he wasn't going to start.
Right.
Even though people were speculative, they weren't. Jimmy G didn't get traded. Now there's these rumor mill that the 49ers are willing to take less and put him in a favorable spot to move Jimmy Garoppolo as like a, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're not getting the offers they wanted, but they want out of it type
right.
deal. So my opinion is I actually don't think Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starter this year. Mm-hmm. I think, and it'll be a surprise. Every news organization will be like, Trey Lance is the starter this year, and it shouldn't be a surprise. I just don't think it should be. I think the 49ers are moving forward. That is their game plan. I think it's probably the right play for them at this point. And you start getting this when you start getting these conversations out. George Kittle was asked, who's the confidence in the locker room on? And George Kittle's like, both Trey and Garoppolo are the same.
I love it.
When you would have given Garoppolo the voice, if you're Kittle, that's your boy, right?
Right.
And you would have given. But you've been told something that the outside media doesn't know.
Right.
And so when that stuff happens,
very political answer.
And you get that starts to kind of pave the way.
Yeah, they're both my favorite.
Trey Lance is. What that does for the plus or minus portion of this on investments is, well, everyone else is out right now, and the new darling, right, is Fields.
Yeah.
Everybody wants Fields right now, so Fields' price or rivaling Trevor Lawrence, right? And you got T-Law and Fields are selling for around the same prices, which just blows my mind.
Why is
about
that? Why is Fields?
Because everybody's down on the Jaguars. Because
Yeah.
everybody looks at the Jaguars as a dumpster fire. They don't realize the fact that they have a whole new coaching staff. They have all new weapons.
Whole new offensive line.
The
Give them
Bears
to-
did nothing to add to
Nothing.
Justin
Right.
Fields, though.
Yeah.
All
But
they
in
did was
Chicago.
they took away Allen Robinson,
Right.
but they didn't add anything.
Yeah, but one of the meccas for all of sports cards is Chicago.
Yeah.
The Nationals held there every other year. It's the mecca there in New York and Pennsylvania area.
It's a city with two pro teams in
Yeah.
two major sports, right?
Yeah.
Like you kind of look at it from a standpoint of like he's the guy that's going to be talked about. Another guy's starting to get the buzz, and it's because now you're starting to get training camp info and starting to get this stuff, right? Jalen Hurts is on the uptick right now as well, right? We talked about it before. Remember we said Tua would be everything that everyone talked up to right after the end of the season. Then we
Right.
wouldn't hear anything about Tua until the beginning of the year, and that's what's happening, right? And we know Tua's going to be the hot take.
Mm-hmm.
You know that Fields is not the guy. He's definitely not Trevor Lawrence. There's no one in this room that thinks that
No.
he should realize over Trevor Lawrence that
No.
And if we're wrong, we're wrong. We'll own it if we're wrong, right? And I hope, honestly, I hope Fields goes out and I hope he becomes, the best quarterback of all time.
Me too.
I hope they all do. But the thing is that I just don't see that. You got other guys that are being talked about in front of Trey Lance, and we already know that Tua is going to be talked about before Trey Lance. So this is a good opportunity right now, guys, that Trey Lance, in comparison to those top quarterbacks, even Zach Wilson gets talked about a little bit more than Trey Lance
he does.
right? I would say this is a really good buying opportunity right now for Trey Lance. I think that you can go buy some good big Trey Lance cards. You're going to pay a fraction of what you're going to pay for Fields. You're going to pay a fraction of what you would pay for, and you're paying a minute number what you're paying for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, I still think he's selling at around or even a little bit lower than Hurts is, right? So good opportunity to buy him. I think he's in a safe spot. He's got a really good defense. He's going to play on the team. It's easy to forget they were in the NFC Championship game last year. It's so easy to forget that.
Another reason why he, could be kind of low too is that Deebo Samuel, obviously he's unhappy there, right? And that's the number one, passing option right there is Deebo Samuel.
He might be unhappy because of Garoppolo.
You never know. He's already come out and said that he's going to skip OTAs. But I think you'll see another big bump when all of a sudden they do get Deebo back.
Yeah.
It's going to be like another little thing because he needs to have that rapport with Lance, obviously, right? That's their number one passing option.
Well, and if you're the Niners, the
Right.
move is you move Garoppolo,
So you can
and
get
as
the
soon
money.
as you move Garoppolo,
Yeah.
you do a deal with Deebo Samuel.
Right.
Right? So you turn the negative of moving the veteran into a positive.
That's what you have to do.
And then that makes him vote of confidence, Trey Lance, and everyone's excited, and it's a whole happy family. And,
Yes.
Right? Maybe that's the move. Maybe that's what we're going to, see. What we do know is, as we've talked before, you said it today already, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to hear that now the Niners are ready to part ways and they're not worried about the
Right.
price, I think it's just a foregone conclusion. It's going to happen probably sooner than later. I wouldn't be surprised if by the middle of next month the move is done. And we're talking about Trey Lance at the National. He could be the biggest discussed card at the National. Could you imagine that that's what happens?
Isn't he still? Is he still 21 or has he turned 22 already?
I'm not sure, but I know he was pretty young. I think he was one of the younger quarterbacks in the class.
Was,
Also, to think about, when you start talking about young guys and ages and stuff, people were knocking Adley Rushman a little bit because of his age, because he was a 4-year college player, right? And now that's the new thing. He went 4 years to college. He didn't go to 2 and, go to a JUCO and leave and do the Bryce Harper and leave after a year or whatever, right? But Brennan Davis of the Cubs is on his way up. I would suspect that with the Cubs, the way the team's played, Cardinals are going to run away with the division, it looks like. I mean, the Brewers are there, right? But I think at the end of the year,
it's going to be Cardinals.
By the time they get all their matchups done, I think Cardinals win those matchups. This guy's going to be up at the major league level. You've got, Jason Hayward is playing center field for the Cubs right now, and we all know he's a corner outfielder. He's a corner outfielder. It doesn't matter. He's a corner outfielder. Might even be a DH at some point.
Oh, he's old.
He's old. So you're looking at this kid coming up. He's had one of those transitions where he's shown that he's now able to play professional baseball. So he's a guy that could come up. He's a big kid. He's lanky. He's going to be fun to watch in Chicago. We just talked about the Chicago market, right? He's a little, he's got a little bit of a personality. He can be interviewed,
right?
And he hits the ball well. So I think that this kid, you're going to see him up towards the end of the year. This card right here, you can buy this green right now for $100. I don't know many Major League bound prospects that you can buy their first or a prospect auto, right, for under $100 in a colorway parallel. You just can't. It's not out there. It doesn't. For some reason, the hobby has just overlooked this guy, even though he's been in every top prospects, Bowman, whatever it is, he's been showcased to the hobby the entire time. It's just that the Cubs had such a fall off. People who just didn't want to see the Cubs.
Right.
This guy's done the right thing, made some changes. So I think this is a sneaky play. You can go out, grab some autos of this guy, get yourself set up, makes his Major League debut, shows he can play a little bit. You're not going to be invested into him heavy. It's not going to cost you a lot of money.
A couple bucks.
So you could be in a good spot. Here's another guy. This is an absolute grab for you guys right now. His name is Matthew Gorski. He had 17 home runs in the minor leagues last year, which is that's a pretty good number for a minor leaguer. 17 home runs is real respectable. Major league teams take a serious look at that. This guy has 17 home runs right now. He can play. He's definitely on his way, and he's going to be on that Pirates roster. And it might be this year. If not, it's next year. You can buy cards like this. This is a green BGS 9.5. It is available right now for $250. You can buy this card for $250 right now. That to me is just, that's mind-blowing. That you can go out and you can buy a colorway that's under $200 of an auto and it's already graded, and you don't have to pay grading fees for it, and get it at that price. I know we don't like the franchise, but what we've seen with the Pirates in the past, what do? They get a really nice shiny car, they ship it off somewhere, and that car is now the number one car on the lot wherever it ends up. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that could be. Or they could be building a nice nucleus there with Sawinski and with O'Neal Cruz on his way back to the major leagues. I would bet this kid is going to be someone that will be talked about, and he's going to get some fanfare. And you can get him cheap enough, guys. You can do that. So, plus or minus, always look for those opportunities. If you guys got a suggestion, something you want to see, something you want to talk about, let us know. We definitely want to have the discussion, though, on the guys that are undervalued in the hobby. And I think it could be all sports.
Let's do that next week.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I wanted to do, so we'll do that. And then, guys, just a reminder, if you just joined us, we are opening up our Facebook group to the buy, sell, trade. You will be able to actually sell your cards in there. No breaks from members that still come from the group. And if you want to line anything, it will have to go through one of our approved liners with tip. But you will be able to do that with one of the approved runners. You guys will be able to do that. We'll get that set up. Rules will be up there soon. We will get that stuff up. From the product standpoint, where are we at?
So finally, Prism. First off the line drops on Wednesdays, meaning the actual product will drop the following Wednesday. So we're 2 weeks away from Prism finally. It's got pushed back so many times.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really nothing much coming out there. A couple smaller products. So we're all on just to look out for Prism. That's all we care about at this moment.
So Prism football is going to be the next big one up, guys. We'll be looking for that. We had Gypsy Queen came out this last week. Mm-hmm. We had Top Sterling, which is getting a little bit of buzz because everyone's looking for that Babe Ruth auto.
Still hasn't came out.
Hasn't been hit. You know how that happens with the bigger products, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It starts to tick it. We watched it fly off the shelf here, but definitely, guys. Product, we'll work on that. Breaks group, we'll get some stuff up for you. Anything else from you guys for this week?
No, man.
What are you doing with Michael there?
I just want to show off my pickup from this weekend. Went to the Green Valley Card Show. The front row. Is it front row?
Front row.
Front row card show this weekend. Picked up a little Michael Jordan rookie. Not too bad. You can never go wrong with buying goats.
No.
Jordan, Gretzky, Trout. These guys that are going to go down as the goats. Buying their rookie cards, holding on to them. This one's going to sit out here for about another 30 seconds and then go back in the safe, and we'll see it in a couple of years.
And definitely.
Right.
And guys, we're always buying. We're always looking for stuff. So if you got stuff, definitely keep us in mind. And of course, we're here each and every Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific. And then up after this will be J Up. J Up will be on. We'll call it 1:15. 1:15. Jay will get on today for you guys. He'll be on Whatnot, Game Day LV. Make sure you guys are over there. I'm sure he'll give something crazy away to get started because that seems to be what we're doing lately. It's just Oprah of the industry.
Let's do it.
We're taking over. Like we said, we've always had a giving heart here at Game Day. We always give back to the kids and to the hobby and to everybody. We appreciate everything that everybody does. So it's one of our opportunities to give back to everybody. And 10K was awesome on Friday.
It was.
Giving away everything that we gave away, seeing how happy everybody was.
And Rip got to do the duck race. He had
biggest duck race in history.
That was a huge duck race.
That pond was full.
The pond, that's a good way to put it. The pond was full.
Yeah.
Rip will be back on tonight. I think he's on at 5:15. He will be on Whatnot as well, running singles and Percy's and all kinds of the Rip nonsense, the gloves and all that stuff. Make sure you guys plan to be here. So full day of slate of stuff on Whatnot with the Game Day LV crew. And then, of course, you guys watch for the Breaks group. We'll drop some stuff. I actually have a plan. We'll drop something baseball and football today for you guys. Something, just small, something fun for you guys to get into while we wait for Prism. It marinates for Prism.
Yeah.
We'll get ready for it. We'll do some warm-ups. That's what we'll call this. We'll
Warm-up.
call it the warm-ups
Prism
for
warm-up.
Prism. So, otherwise, guys, we appreciate you guys each and every week. And as Jimmy would say,
Let's go Monster Hunting.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys.